This is Lightning Power Lunch, presented by Reef Rum on the Lightning Audio Network with Dave Mishkin and Greg Linnelli.
Got the lead, protected the lead, or extended the lead and protected the lead. It was basically the recipe, and pretty proud of the guys. You know, you get the first two, maybe you can get a little complacent. They didn't. Like I said, you jump out, you get three quick ones, and it was just proud of, let's go out and take all the points. They got a little greedy and, fired up, because I think, if I remember correctly, last year we came out here, we didn't get a point. So it was good to get them back this time.
Good to win 7 in a row. How about that?
For sure.
West Coast trip, Lightning come back, take all those points. They're in first place as we sit here today on a Monday, pre-taping, and it is what it is. But the Lightning are playing some pretty good hockey, and there's a lot to recap from what we saw over the last couple of games with my partner Dave Mishkin. Glad you're with us at Bolts Radio. If you want to get involved in the conversation, you can. Some questions trickled in that we'll get to throughout. Steve Versnick, of course, is our producer. Boy, partner, I got to tell you, big picture view there, I don't know if you anticipate getting all 6 points when you go out west. We've talked about this for various reasons, but
sure,
they beat some good opponents, some tricky opponents, difficult circumstances at times, and everybody, it felt like, contributed on that trip, and that's what you need. And maybe the exclamation point with Darren Radish getting a hat trick in the last game. Who would have thought that? But
right.
His story season continues, and it's been really great. Hard to really critique this team with where they are right now and things they've faced getting to this point. Tomorrow will be midway through the season, and I think it's safe to say right now this is one of the best teams in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I mean, the Lightning have played 41 games, so they're at their halfway point.
Yeah.
53 points, so double that. That's 106.
Right.
That's definitely enough to get in the playoffs. And, I mean, we talk about 96 points after 80 games. I mean, 96 after 82. You're basically talking about hockey 500 the rest of the way. Because what do they need? 43 points in 41 games to get to 96. Now, look, we've seen they've lost 4 in a row in regulation already this year. What's been weird about this year is they've had 3 long winning streaks. They've had winning streaks of 5, 7, and 7. But they've also had some tough stretches that they really haven't had a lot of those during the John Cooper era. Lose 4 in a row in regulation is extremely rare for a John Cooper coached Lightning team, but it's happened this year. And when they went 15-3, they were able to answer each of those regulation losses with a win, but there have been other stretches where the losses have piled up. So who knows what's going to happen in the second half. I still maintain that, this stretch they're in right now, and they've gotten off to a great start in this stretch where they have 8 of 9 on the road. They're 3-0 so far. And the stretch after the Olympics end and the teams resume play in late February, those are going to be the 2 toughest schedule stretches the Lightning have this year. So let's see how they navigate through those. But look, if we were to say heading into the first game of the year, the Lightning would be at 53 points after 41 games, you and I would say, yes, sign us up for that.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it is about points. How they've gotten those points, though, has been really interesting in the face of a lot of injuries, in the face of having a 4-game regulation losing streak, only 1 win in the first 7. They've been able to overcome that with their good winning streaks, and really they've needed those winning streaks. I mean, you look at still how tight the Atlantic Division is. I saw a stat at one point, and this was a moment in time. This was before the Winter Classic because the Panthers lost that game in regulation. But I saw a stretch that, like, at one point, Atlantic teams in a 22-game stretch had gone 20-0-2. Now, there had been very little interdivisional play there, or intra-divisional play, because, otherwise we would have had more than 2 overtime losses. Sure. The Lightning might have been one of those teams when they beat Montreal. That might have been one of them. I'm not sure how far back it went, but that tells you about how the Atlantic Division has kind of handled its business, right? Like, you gotta keep munching points to keep pace or maintain pace or maintain an advantage. but the Lightning can't do much more than what they've done. I mean, they couldn't have asked for a better first half, given everything that has gone on, given the injuries, given some of the hiccups that they had, given the start that they had. So now they have to obviously focus on maintaining this in the second half and hopefully even get better. A couple of statistical notes from the California trip, because these are a couple of things that we've harped on a lot. First, the power play. So the power play did score in all 3 games. Cosmetically, I'm not sure that the power play looked maybe as good as some fans would have liked prior to the San Jose game. It looked very good in the San Jose game. But that's how you build it up. And I was reading the NHL's morning skate email this morning. I think it's available on NHL.com. I mean, I get it on email, but you can probably find it. If fans are interested, you can read it. And it's usually like whoever compiles this information, they do a really comprehensive job. I mean, I'm not always interested in like what's happening with Utah, right? But I mean, if something happened with Utah, they have it in there from a stat standpoint or from a storyline standpoint. So they had a link, which is on the NHL's website, about Darren Radish's hat trick. And he had the highest average shot speed on a hat trick in tracking history. Now, they've only been tracking velocity of slap shots since 21-22. So keep that in mind. And who is going to have the hardest average slap shot speed, a forward or a defenseman? Probably a defenseman, because the defenseman is scoring on slap shots, as Radish did, particularly goals 2 and 3. And not many defensemen get hat tricks. So consider all of that. But what they had in there, they had the 3 shot speeds for, these are goals. These aren't just shots. Like sometimes somebody blasts a shot 102 miles an hour and misses the net, right? Yeah. These are shots that are going in the net. So Radish's first goal, which was from the circle, so it wasn't as big of a windup, 89.7 miles per hour. His second goal, which was the 3rd fastest shot that led to a goal this year in the NHL, 97.60 miles per hour. And then his hat trick goal was 92.19 miles per hour. So we know he has a bomb, but what's interesting is that this bomb is going on net. So they were kind of like, what do we make of his breakout season? So they had 3 categories. One was shot speed, which we kind of just talked about that. Right. But he leads the entire NHL in 90-plus mile per hour shot attempts. So those are attempts. They could have missed the net. Sure. And he's got 38. The next closest guy is Evan Bouchard with 27. So, I mean, that really tells you that he is looking to shoot. And when he shoots on slap shots, it is a very, very fast shot or hard shot.
It's a weapon.
It's a weapon. Yeah. The second category was shots by location, which to me is not as significant because usually if he's shooting, I mean, they were kind of like long distance, right? Right. Where is he scoring his goals from? So, yes, he's usually shooting from the blue line. But then they talked about this power play turnaround. So I'm going to take exception with some of their numbers here. They were trying to make the argument that once Radish came in for the power play, it turned around. That's not entirely true. What they were looking at was when Hedman was out of the game in the Montreal game in December. Now, we know, covering the team, Hedman missed time prior to that. Yep. But this is what the league had. From the start of the season to the game where Hedman sustained his injury, December 9th, the Lightning were tied for 24th in the NHL with a power play percentage of 16.3. So the game where I think they're not including the Montreal game. So they're saying when Hedman sustained his injury December 9th at Montreal, Lightning were at 16.3%. Since then, and they're saying Radish has helped the Lightning drastically improve its power play percentage. Not entirely true, because Radish was on that unit prior to December 9th. Since then, though, they've gone 26.8% on the power play. 7th best in the NHL. So that tells us that really since early December, the Lightning's power play has been over 25%. It's been better. If you go 3 for 5, that's going to help, right? But, I mean, they all count. So when we look at the end of the season, we're like, what's the power play percentage? Not how crisp or like that's getting more into the micro.
Yeah. Right.
The macro is, are they scoring? And since the second week of December, the power play scored, and the power play helped them on this road trip. I mean, they didn't need it as much in the San Jose game, but they certainly needed it in the Anaheim game, and they needed it in the LA game. Why do they need it? This is the other side of the coin. They needed it in part because their penalty kill has started to leak oil a little bit. So they gave up a goal. I asked Rob Zettler about it, yeah. So they gave up a goal against Anaheim. There was a big goal. It tied the game at 3 in the third period. They gave up 2 goals to the Kings, the worst power play percentage in the NHL. Now, the Kings had adjusted some things. Like Doughty wasn't on the first unit. Kopitar wasn't on the first unit. They had a much different looking unit, honestly. Corey Perry was very effective for them on that power play.
Right.
He had a key assist to Fiala. Kuzmenko's a scorer. He had 39 goals a few years back playing with Vancouver. So, I mean, he scored one of the goals. So maybe the Kings power play will get better. Who knows? But they could have lost that game because of their penalty kill, basically. And then even though it was a blowout win against San Jose, they gave them another power play goal. So I did ask Rob Zettler about it. I'm like, is this more just like ebbs and flows? Because sometimes, special teams get hot, they get cold, or is there something systemic? And he's like, honestly, we are. I mean, he said in the San Jose game, because it was after the first period and the Sharks had scored a power play goal. He's like, we're thinking too much offense. He's like, Yanni Gourde is way up on the play, thinking about scoring a shorthanded goal. Yeah. Now, the Sharks brought it back in, and it's not like they immediately scored. But if you recall, Regenda, who had the hat trick, before he scored his first goal, had a grade A right at the net. Celebrini got him the puck, and Vasi made a terrific save. So we saw that in the Kings game where Cirelli tried to stretch past to Hagel. Kuzmenko blocked it, countered, they scored. And we saw it in the Anaheim game where that one was less like Gensel's trying to get it to Gergensons on a breakaway. It was a little bit of a tough puck to handle, but instead of just collecting it, Gensel, if we asked him, he might say, yeah, maybe I could have reeled that puck in, held on to it, and just shot it down the ice. Instead, he tried to like push it forward to Gergensons, and it got blocked by Mintyukov. And then the 2 Lightning forwards were basically above the puck. Or below the puck, however you want to. They were on the wrong side of the puck, and so the Ducks had a 4-on-2 down low once the puck got pushed back in, and that's when Mason McTavish scored. So I would not say that this is an area of concern, not when you're still top 5 in penalty killing, but the 2 special teams, at least on this trip, and maybe even going back to mid-December, we're starting to see a little bit of a shift, right? So let's monitor that because the penalty killing has been one of the storylines this year. It's been one of the reasons why the Lightning are a top defensive team this year because they aren't allowing a lot of power play goals. Anyway, those are 2 things that I saw on the California trip that I think
it's a good point.
Were worth mentioning, which is why the Lightning won all 3 games. But how many goals did they give up in all 3 games? 3.
Yeah.
Usually, if you're allowing 3, that's right. Like, are you going to be able to get the Anaheim game? They needed overtime. They didn't in the other 2, but one they took. Basically, it took a miraculous comeback. I'll use that word. To score 3 goals in the last 3 minutes and change is extremely rare against a great defensive team. And they obviously blew the Sharks out of the water, so it didn't matter that they gave up 3. But that's not something that John Cooper wants to see continue as they move forward here.
It's been probably the biggest thing we've talked about beyond the injuries has been the power play.
Yeah.
This year.
Wouldn't you be surprised, Steve, if I told you the Lightning are at 26% of the power play since December 9th? You'd be surprised to hear that, wouldn't you?
I would. And I wonder I wonder if they could, I'm sure they can, dig deeper into those numbers. So they, Radish, how many points has he had on the power play during that time?
4 goals. They had it in there how many goals he's had. 4.
Has that coincided with Braden Point's resurgence at all? I don't know how many power play points
he hasn't
had.
Really done it.
That's what I mean. Doesn't feel like it hasn't.
I mean, honestly, it was kind of Bjorkstrand, right? Because they did well in the New Jersey game, which was right after that Montreal game. They scored some power play goals in that. Yeah. They scored 2 in the Jersey game.
And I'm throwing stuff at the wall. Like, have the faceoffs gotten better during this time for that streak? knowing that it's elevated? Have they been just controlling play? I mean, Kucherov, maybe that's the elephant in the room as well. I mean, he has 5 points the other night. How much has he been more of Kucherov dominating on the power play? I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers. To your point, that is an interesting stat. I probably wouldn't have thought that. Does it just coincide with Radish getting more pucks on net?
Or shooting more. I mean, but I said the stats tell us that he has been shooting from the blue line. It didn't say in the power play. That was just an overall.
I'd like to see some more numbers associated with that as to why we've seen this bump. And it could just be the law of averages too. Things are starting to, they're just getting back to where they should be.
But keep in mind, baked into that percentage, 2 really subpar power play games against the Panthers.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they played the Panthers in mid-December, shortly after that marker started with a home game, and then they were at Panthers for the game right after Christmas. I know they're 0 for 14. Did I say that right? 0 for 15 maybe in the season series against the Panthers. I think they were 0 for 5 in the first meeting. So let's say 0 for 14. So they were 0 for 9 during the 2 games against the Panthers, and they're still at 26% during this limited time frame. So that means against the other teams, they're doing pretty well. We'll see. I mean, that's just something to keep an eye on. If the Lightning's power play percentage finishes, let's say, first of all, let's just say finishes top half. And if they have a tremendous second half, and let's say they can get into the top 10, I'm not suggesting they're going to finish 5th again.
Yeah.
Say they get to 8th or 9th. We may look back at this marker that the league provided for us and be like, from the second week of December, the goals started going in.
So what we're saying is,
but part of it is Radish's shooting from the blue line. He certainly did that in the San Jose game.
Listen, we had somebody ask us that question about the power play a couple of shows ago. And, what would you guys do to fix it?
Yeah.
And you and I had been talking about it for a while. And I believe, and I agree with you, that your response was like, look, we've talked about this before. I think just getting shots on net and through would be a big part of seeing the power play get better. And maybe this is starting to show that indication. And I think also what we can say, and I'm doing this tongue-in-cheek, Darren Radish might be your first half MVP of the season. Think about where the Lightning are. These are always fun things to talk about. Writers are going to write about this. Who is the Tampa Bay Lightning's unsung hero through 41 games? And you can have fun and surprises, maybe disappointments. People do the report cards. The Athletic, they're big on that. I will just tell you, and I really haven't thought a ton about it, but since I brought it up, of course you can say the goaltending. Yes, the depth. Where would they be without it? But if you're looking at like an individual player, considering that Victor Hedman has no goals, has been injured, the back end's been kind of a mess with regulars going out, is it fair to say, like, where would this team be without Darren Radish?
And Moser.
Well, and that's
and the
great
two of
point
them,
by you.
I think the two of them almost need to be mentioned in the same breath because they're partnered.
It's a great point.
Now, that's very different because Moser's chipped in. He scored in the Anaheim game. But Radish has provided offense. Moser has provided shutdown defense.
You bring up a good point because we cannot discount. I mean, we were talking about, has Moser been their most consistent performer this year? Hard to argue with those numbers. Hard to argue with him. He's been rock solid. I think you put Radish in that conversation because I feel like the jump in production has been so big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about a guy, a hat trick. He's got how many goals now? 12?
Yeah.
I mean, this is an incredible year. Call it contract year. Call it just a guy coming into his own. As he said to Brian Engblom about a month ago, when they were talking about, just play me because he was in and out of the lineup. I mean, who knows? I think for John Cooper, partner, thank goodness they have it. But, I mean, you're right about the Moser-Radish combination because through all of this, and I still come back to this question, and nobody's going to have an answer until everybody is healthy. Who are your top 6 defensemen?
Right.
I mean, because you're going to have some good players sitting. I mean, as it sits right now, not only is Radish not coming out of the lineup, But can you make a fair point that he's playing with Moser for the foreseeable future when everybody does come back, right?
Well, I mean, that has been such a reliable pair for Rod Zettler to throw out there.
Really?
So the short answer is yes. I mean, when McDonough came back, it's not like who would be your two best defensive defensemen when McDonough came back for the few games that he came back and played before he took himself out of the lineup again. Like you might have said, Moser played the right side with Hedman last year and even the beginning of this year. Maybe you're going to put McDonough and Moser together.
Yeah.
But Moser on the right side, they didn't do that.
Right.
I even wondered about that because that came after Radish had a shaky game. I forget which game it was, but it might have even been the Florida game, the home Florida game where the Lightning lost that game. And I think that was McDonough's return game. And John Cooper, Rob Zettler were like, nope, we're keeping Moser and Radish together. We're going to play McDonough with Destu. I think it might have been more about Radish had a tough game against the Panthers,
right?
The home Panthers game. But we were wondering about Destu on the right because when Destu played with Lilleberg was on the right. But they decided to keep that the same.
Can you lose your spot in the lineup? And I'm being tongue-in-cheek again because, yes, you can.
Sure.
But can you lose your spot in the lineup if you're hurt? Yeah. I mean,
yes.
You don't like to see it. You don't like to see it, right. And maybe it depends on which player is coming back, too. Victor Hedman comes back.
Isn't that how Lou Gehrig got in the lineup?
That's right. Wally Pipp, right?
Yeah.
Look, Victor Hedman, when he comes back, when Ryan McDonough come back, I think you and I would both agree they're going in the lineup. They're not.
Right.
They're not sitting. Okay. But what's going to happen with a Lilleberg? I mean, it's a fair point to ask. There's a guy who probably feels like I just started playing well, and my goodness.
We are still quite some time away from that point, though. I mean, hopefully McDonough is able to return here fairly soon. He was on the road trip.
Yeah.
Lilleberg and Hedman are going to be out until, let's just say, until the end of January.
Correct.
I mean, that's kind of where, until we hear otherwise, that's kind of the projected time frame. So, I mean, what is today? January 5th. So, I mean, that point is down the road, and we know other injuries can happen. I just think that, the Lightning are where they are in the standings because in the face of these significant injuries, other players have stepped up, not just to, and as John Cooper said, it's not like Darren Radish tried to be Victor Hedman. It's like, we don't want him to be Victor Hedman. No. We don't want J.J. Moser to be Ryan McDonough. We want them to be themselves. But the way they are performing, it's filling the hole that was vacated by those players, and they're getting great production, whether that production means like goals and points or just production in terms of solid defensive play. In Moser's case, you can see reflected in his plus-minus, which, like, he's among the league leaders just, like, in a crowded room with Colorado Avalanche players, right? Like that's the list of plus minus, like Colorado, Moser, Colorado.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, he's in some pretty elite company there because the Avs have basically been winning nonstop. And when they lose, like they did last night, only their third regulation loss, it's usually by goal. So, you would figure that their best players and their top players have great plus-minus numbers. That's where Moser is. That's the sort of season he's had. I mean, the Lightning have a great goal differential, but not everyone on the Lightning has Moser's plus-minus. So that's where Moser has really, like, grabbed the reins for Tampa Bay.
The power play will be interesting, because that is one area where you could say when Hetty does come back. Mm-hmm. We have seen at times him.
But when
go
he
to the
came back,
second unit.
they didn't pull Radish off the top unit.
That's what I mean.
Granted, Hedman was only back for really 2 games, but still.
But I think when Hedman's going, of course, I think you want him on the first power play. He's got a big shot too. We talk about Darren Radish. Hetty has a big shot as well, and he's a world-class player, and the pedigree is there. So do you get creative? Could you use both of them on the same power play unit? Could you divvy up time One is with PP1, the other one is power play unit 2. I don't know. That's an interesting
think they're going to do that. I really don't. I think they like the unit that they have right now. The power play success against San Jose led to one of the Kucherov sorts of games that we've seen during his time with the Lightning, where he just explodes for 5 points.
It's incredible.
So he's basically been at a multi-point pace here, because now he has 7 straight road games of multiple points, one off the franchise record.
Which was
so prior to the San Jose game, I think it had been even Steven 2 points every game.
Right.
But he also had an overall point streak of 6 games, 12 points. So there might have been one game in there where he had 1 point, and then one game where he had 3. And then, of course, against San Jose, he gets 5. So those are the sorts of runs that we've seen with Kucherov. And usually it's not exclusively in the power play, but it's tied to the power play having one of these games where they pop in 3 goals. And usually Kucherov is getting a point in all of them, which is what happened in the San Jose game. He had a power play goal, and he had the 2 assists on the 2 Radish power play goals.
Feel like Braden Point starting to maybe
he's even now.
Yeah.
So how many games has he been back? He came back.
When did he come back?
At Toronto. So the game before the Montreal game. So the Montreal game at Montreal was the 9th. The Toronto game was the 8th. It hasn't even been a month. And
he's a
-1. 7 goals. He went from minus, I think when he was hurt, he was at -11, and he took a -1 in the first game back against Toronto. Now he's even. So starting with that Montreal game on December 9th, Braden Point's +12 and has 7 goals. And some assists, too. He had 4 goals on the California trip.
He hasn't been a minus player since he's come back.
Well, the first game he was, I think.
Was that at Montreal?
Toronto game.
+2. Oh, Toronto was a -1. You're right.
The first game back was at Toronto. He was a -1.
You're right. Incredible. That might, honestly, that might be, and I want to get to some sound that Coop had for Darren Radish, and we can get into some questions, some other things too. I'm curious your thoughts. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but boy, did San Jose overreact going after Moser. We kind of laugh and chuckle about
Eric's
that.
point was it was even less about Moser and just letting the league know, like, you can't look cross-eyed at Celebrini. But
I don't think we're not in that same era. People are going to look cross-eyed at him.
Yeah.
This isn't
look
the
at what's
80s.
happening to Schaefer.
Yeah. Right. It's just not. I don't know what you do there. Anyways, I think that might be, in addition to everything you just said and we just discussed about Radish, the power play, the depth, all very valid. Can we just say Braden Point finding his level of play is just a really big story for the Lightning, because we didn't see it early on, and we were all asking ourselves the question, what's going on? Is he dinged up?
Right.
What's happening? Who knows?
Well, another way of looking at it, Greg, is beginning, and we'll use that December 9th game in Montreal as a marker, because that ended the Lightning's 4-game regulation losing streak at the beginning of December.
Yeah.
So we'll say Point had the 1 game at Toronto, but the second game, starting with the second game, the Lightning only lost 2 games in regulation. There's been a shootout loss in there. But that tells you, like, his play has been higher, obviously, than it was earlier in the year. He's producing more.
Yep.
He is +12 since December 9th, but also it has translated to the Lightning. It has coincided / translated to the Lightning doing a lot more winning than losing. 2 regulation losses, and they came back-to-back. Or the home Florida and the home Kings were the 2 regulation losses. And then they had the shootout loss against the Islanders. That's been it.
It's incredible.
Actually, it doesn't make sense because they lost to the – so I must have had my numbers wrong, because they lost to the Islanders as well in that stretch. But be that as it may, so 3 regulation losses since December 9th. I don't have the – I thought the Lightning only lost 6 games in December in regulation. So maybe I'll have to go back and look at the game by game.
Well,
you have it up in front of you.
Where's our crack staffed?
Yeah, you know what? Before I start talking with
let me look at the schedule.
One eye closed, I should actually look it up, and I can
You're saying
look it up
December,
fairly
right?
easily.
We're looking at December here?
Yeah, let's look at December and see what the Lightning did.
All right, I'm looking.
I thought
I'm
they
looking.
finished 7-6-1 or 7-6-2 or something.
I mean, I can give you the losses at home if that's what you're asking.
No, I can look this up really quickly. So let me give you December. December, the Lightning went 7-6-1, but they lost 4 straight in regulation in the beginning of the month. So what are the losses that I'm not remembering here?
There was a shootout loss. Oh no, that was
Against the
an away game
Islanders.
for
That
the
was the
Islanders.
one. Yeah. Because I'm trying to tie it to points return. All right. So what I forgot is the Islander loss happened earlier. That was the first. So I'd forgotten because they played the Islanders twice on the road. Yeah. So the first loss to the Islanders was the first of the 4 regulation losses. So since the Montreal game at Montreal, the Lightning have gone 8-2-1 8-2-1 in 11 games, coinciding with Braden Point coming back and doing what he's doing offensively during that time frame. It's not just him, but clearly, as we learned from the league, the power play has had an impact there as well.
The league will let us know.
The league will let us know. But 3 power play goals in a game was a high watermark for the Lightning this year.
By the way,
which
when's
they got against the Sharks.
When's the last defenseman for the Lightning that had a hat trick?
Dan Boyle. Dan Boyle was actually in the building on Saturday because he was doing a Sharks podcast. Cool. He popped in the radio booth and said hi. So I'll share a quick story. Mm-hmm. So Dan Boyle arrived in Tampa Bay the year before I got the job with the Lightning. So he arrived in 01-02. I think it was a trade, maybe a trade with Florida. Yeah, he was actually a member of the Panthers organization. And it was the next year that, honestly, he started establishing himself as a regular player and then a top player in the NHL. Prior to that, he was kind of a tweener and kind of in the minors for a good portion of time. So he popped in the booth and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "How many years is this for you?" I'm like, "I think I came the year after you did." He's like, "You're still doing this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still doing it." And I said, "And actually, I was in the minors for 11 years and saw you play there." He's like, "Well, where were you?" I said, "Well, 3 in Johnstown in the East Coast League, but then I was 8 in Hershey." I said, "I saw you play in Louisville." He's like, "And Lexington." So he was originally in Lexington, Kentucky. They were the Kentucky Thoroughblades. That was their name. They had cheerleaders, by the way. This is when they had cheerleaders for the minor league hockey team. And the cheerleaders for the Kentucky Thoroughblades were the Kentucky Thoroughbabes. I don't know if that would fly now.
There you go.
That was back in the 90s. Anyway, they were the Sharks affiliate. So Dan Boyle was part of that.
Very
Interestingly,
cool.
That organization, he ended up getting traded to the Sharks. He had a year in Lexington, and then he joined the Panthers organization. Their affiliate was in Louisville. So Hershey and Kentucky and Hershey and Louisville, they were in the same division. So he said, my first fight, there was a big brawl with Hershey when I was in Kentucky, which we had a big rivalry with them, and we played them in the playoffs a couple of years. And there was one year where it was not the year that I was thinking of because Boyle hadn't joined them yet. So J.F. LaBelle was Hershey's MVP and the MVP of the entire league the year the Bears won the Calder Cup when I was there, 96, 97. There was a bench clearing brawl against Kentucky where he was basically out of the net and one of the Kentucky players cross-checked him and he went flying into the board. Can you imagine today? If Vasilevsky was cross-checked helmet first into the board. So, everything went haywire.
Chaos.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's like, no, that wasn't it. He was like, one of the Kentucky players knocked down in a fight one of the Hershey players. So Scott Parker was sniffing around. So Scott Parker played for Hershey. He was a Colorado affiliate, or he was a Colorado player.
Yeah.
We were affiliated with Colorado. It was a very, very tough customer. When he joined the Bears, basically every fight he had, he knocked down whoever he fought. Oh yeah. His hand, 2 of my hands would fit in one of his hands.
He was
okay. He was very fierce.
Cement blocks there.
I was like, you didn't fight Scott Parker. He's like, no, I didn't fight Scott Parker. That was my introduction. He was like, that was the first fight I ever got into, and it was in this rivalry game. So anyway, we were kind of reminiscing. I didn't remember that. I remembered him more, actually. I remembered him as a good offensive player with Kentucky and a very good offensive player with Louisville. He ended up going up to Florida, get traded to the Lightning. The rest is history. But Dan Boyle was in the building, which I thought was very interesting because Radish's hat trick was the first hat trick by a Lightning defenseman since Dan Boyle did it in December of 2006 against the Rangers. And I believe that was a third period hat trick. He scored all 3 goals in the third period. Wow. Lightning rallied to win. Memory. The other, defenseman to do it was Doug Crossman. Lightning set all these offensive records in like the first 2 months of their existence. Like Contos had the 4 goals. Yeah. Crossman had 6 points in a game at the Islanders. So he was the other guy to do it. He had 3 goals and 3 assists.
Pretty impressive.
In that game.
That is pretty impressive.
But I didn't remember that Dan Boyle's first fight happened in a game that I called.
Yeah.
That's
pretty
all those years ago. I probably didn't know he was going to turn into Dan Boyle at that time. And he probably wasn't a main participant, but it was one of those where everybody was fighting.
You have to grab somebody, right?
You got to grab somebody, yeah.
Yeah, for
sure. And he was a college guy. So, I mean, the college guys are not, like, there's no fighting in college. So you join the pro game and you're like, okay, I better learn how to handle myself
quickly.
Here.
Yeah, a little bit. Here was John Cooper after the game on Darren Radish.
Just playing with a lot of confidence, a lot of swag, and it's paying off. And good for him. I mean, like my kid's, he's had to fill a lot of different holes and situations for us over the years, and it's you like to see good guys get rewarded, and he's getting rewarded.
There you go.
Yeah.
So John
getting
Cooper
rewarded, but getting rewarded justly. Like, I mean, he is playing incredibly effective hockey in all 3 zones. Like, he's earning what he's getting is what I'm trying to say.
He is. The other thing, too, that you took a little bit, it was good to see Dominic James score a goal.
Yeah, you can see the skill. You can see the skill.
For sure.
He's in the clear. The puck came to him, a little bit of lucky break, but, I mean, that was not a finish that every player on the ice could have made.
No. And I think you and I, and we've talked about this with him, like maybe that next step is the finishing ability.
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels like there's a lot of things there that he can do. And now it's trying to just figure out NHL goaltenders and really navigate your way in the offensive zone to put the puck in the net. He adds that element to his game. We talk about this depth. That's great to see. Gage Gonsalves continues to be productive partner, and I think this is all very positive signs. I mean, you kind of it's interesting how much depth they have, because there are times you're looking at the box score and you may see Bjorkstrand has an assist here or Nick Paul has an assist, and you feel like those guys, haven't had a signature game the last maybe couple of weeks, but it speaks to all of the players who are. There's moments where guys are doing this, guys are doing that, and then maybe it's this guy's turn, maybe it's that guy's turn, and I think that's probably a sign of where everybody is right now with this Lightning team at the forward position, and you can make a case on the back end. Everybody is contributing.
Well, Paul got his assist on the power play. He was out there on the power play because that was when Gensel was in the box.
Yep,
stemming from the post Moser hit on Celebrini. There was the Moser hit on Celebrini, and then William Eklund came in and got 4 minutes to roughing, and Moser got 2. Lightning scored in that power play. Then we had the shift with Reeves and Goodrow trying to get at Moser. And there were a lot of penalties called there, but the Sharks got the extra 2. But Gensel was unavailable on the power play. That's why Paul was out there. That was the Radish hat trick goal. Paul has done this is where Nick Paul is just the consummate teammate. We've seen Nick Paul in a top 6. We've seen Nick Paul on the first power play unit. We've seen Nick Paul play more on penalty kill than, frankly, he has this year.
Yeah.
And really, as the Lightning are on this winning streak, like, Paul's role is just more limited than where it has been earlier in his time with the Lightning. But that doesn't take away from his effectiveness. Like, he's basically playing 4th line wing/center with James and Bjorkstrand. He's really not seeing power play time, occasionally power play 2, but power play 2 doesn't get a lot of action. And I mean, honestly, he and Gensel seem like they're the third forward option. When everybody is healthy and no one's in the box, you got Sorelli Hagel, you got Gord Gergensons, and then you got Paul Gensel. Well, they may not get a shift shorthanded. Now, like if Gord gets a penalty, somebody gets bumped up, right? In fact, I think that's how, Gensel and Gergensons were on the ice together in that Anaheim game because Gord got a penalty. But, you look at the level of play that Nick Paul is bringing, night in, night out, probably, it's not ideal for him. He's like, I want to play more, but
Sure.
Consummate teammate. I mean, and when he's asked to take on a role because somebody is in the box or whatever, he
can do it.
He can do it. Yeah, for sure.
It's been fun watching this Lightning team the whole time because guys are stepping up. I want to get to some questions. We also can dive into a little bit of the game tomorrow, though we'll dedicate.
Yes, just a programming note on my end. I will not be on either of the next two shows. Got some personal stuff to tend to. Nothing urgent or nothing for anyone to worry about. But Eric Erlinson will capably take my figurative seat, and then I'll be back on Thursday. But I will be calling the game. This is not illness related for me. I will be calling the game tomorrow. So
maybe you and I can touch on it a little bit. I want to get your thoughts
a little bit.
The game tonight or tomorrow. That'll be good. Tonight, enjoy some Reef Rum. Smooth, versatile, and now pouring at Benchmark International Arena. Order a Tropical Wave or a Lightning Mule and taste why fans are switching. Reef Rum is a premium craft Florida local rum built on authenticity, quality, and easy drinkability. Ask for Reef Rum by name. Go Bolts. Enjoy responsibly. Get to some questions if we want to. I do think tomorrow will be interesting because that is, two of the better teams in the league right now.
And the Avs don't like losing. So, I mean, look, they have lost back-to-back games this year, but they've been like overtime. Like it's never been back-to-back regulation losses.
Yep.
So let's see how they respond. And I'll just mention quickly, Devon Taves missed the game yesterday.
He did.
With an upper body injury, and Landeskog looked like he got pretty severely injured in the game last night. Unclear what the injury is because he basically got his knee reconstructed. That's why he
said it
missed
was upper
3
body.
years.
I read the note.
All right, so that would be the rib cage.
Yeah.
So what happened was it looked like his knee buckled, and then he went flying, lost his balance, and went flying into the net. Thing of the Stamkos broken leg injury, except this hit him in the ribs. The net came off, but he needed to be helped off the ice. So, I mean, not that you want a guy to sustain a rib injury. Upper body would be rib injury, but that is better for him than if he did something to that reconstructed knee. And it was unclear after the game exactly like what the injury was. So thank you for filling me in on that. But I don't think we're going to see Landeskog tomorrow. Taves, who knows? But you pull Taves out, like he's a really important part of that team. Plays with Makar, great penalty killer, solid all-around player. He's one of these guys that's way up there in plus-minus, too.
This one comes from Jim. He says, guys, as it stands now, the Lightning are plus 32 goal differential, which is the best in the Eastern Conference. How come more people aren't talking about the Lightning as the best in the East?
Because I think the standings are so tight.
That's a good point.
I mean, goal differential isn't the only stat that matters. I mean, it's an indication that when they're losing, they're not losing by a lot, and when they're winning more than they're losing, and some of their wins have, the blowout feature to it. I think they're winning a game like 4-1 or. They won a game 8-4. They won 7-3. I'm like, if you're winning by 3 or 4 goals, that's going to help your goal differential. But it only counts as one win, right?
But think about what you said earlier today on the show about just they needed this win streak to get back to where they are. I mean, that speaks to the depth of this Eastern Conference. I'm not sure what to make of it other than, can you imagine where the Lightning would be if they didn't win 7 in a row, coming off a period of time there where it wasn't great. I mean, it just... I understand parity, and this is the frustrating part. I get it.
Yeah, you talked about this the other
day. Boy,
is
this the extreme? Has to be the extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, Toronto, who asked me this question? I think it was Doug Plagans. I went on his show right before the Lightning took on the Panthers
Yes, you did.
in the most recent game. And he had asked me some of the Atlantic Division teams, I think, that are on the outside looking in. And I think it was Buffalo, Boston, Ottawa, and Toronto. Which one do you think gets in? And I made the comment that I was like, look, that's a good question, but I mean, I usually pick the team that has the most talent. Eventually, in an 82-game season, you're going to figure this out. But I mean, and I said Toronto. But I mean, look at Toronto. I mean,
Yeah.
they've got 45 points. But they're only 3 points out of the last wild card, which is currently occupied by Washington with 48. But Pittsburgh and Washington kind of keep going back and forth. Pittsburgh just won 5 in a row.
The problem Toronto has is the number of teams to leapfrog
That's
right
it.
now. So, like, we often talk about playoff pace. So, I mean, the Lightning hit their playoff pace marker thanks to winning. It was 6 in a row when they got to 40 games, and now it's 7 in a row. So they were at 51 points after 40 games. That's 3 points ahead of playoff pace. And now they've just won their first game in the next 10-game segment, games 41 to 50. I'm looking at the Atlantic Division right now. There are only 3 teams of the 8 that are at playoff pace. So the other teams, the other 5 are close. I mean, they're not way down, but those 5 bottom teams, 4th through 8th, did not or will not, but they're all at 40, or higher. None of those teams were able to get to 48 points yet, and they've all played 40 or more games. So this is kind of what we've seen this year, that the reason it's so close is either teams are at or above playoff pace, or they are close to playoff pace. But I maintain if the Lightning, who are above playoff pace, can maintain it, it's hard to get back on playoff pace when you are below playoff pace. Usually the best you can do is get to playoff pace. The Lightning have 3 bonus points heading into this next 10-game segment. So to me, I'm less concerned about all the other teams and what they are doing. It's just like, what is the likelihood that, let's say, 5 of these teams or 4 of these teams would overtake the Lightning and put the Lightning in jeopardy of missing the playoffs? 4 of those teams, or 2 of the bottom 5 teams, would basically have to like gallop to playoff pace and then get ahead of where the Lightning are at. And the Lightning would have to dip as well. So, I mean, this is just my way of saying the Lightning are in a very, very good spot. Let me look at the Metro and see how that looks. So the Metro is better. So, I mean, I'll put Pittsburgh at playoff pace because they're at 49 points after 41 games. I know technically they weren't at it, but they just got to win. So we'll put them at playoff pace. You got 4 teams of the 8 at playoff pace, but Washington's at 48 through 42 games played. So, I mean, you got more teams that probably are closer to that playoff pace marker. But again, it just goes to show how tight the East is from 1 to 16. And this wild card race is going to be wild. I mean, it is. You could have like 7 teams competing for 2 wild card spots, potentially, if it stays this tight.
I haven't seen anything like this
No.
before. All of these teams are... And, look, for as much as we knock Buffalo and their starts for the first couple of months and kind of being in the middle of things,
Right.
is this the longest they've gone over the last handful of years of kind of being in the playoff spot? Maybe,
Here's the
I don't
thing,
know.
Greg. So they won 10 in a row.
Yeah.
We know, I mean, the Lightning are in this right now. When you're winning, it's like everything's coming up roses, right? Like eventually you're going to lose a game. You understand that. The key is once you lose a game and that streak is over, what's your response? It's not always easy. So in their last game, the Sabres lost for the first time in 11 games. I think, too, like they won 10 in a row. Where did they get? Are they even in a wild card spot? I'm not sure that they are. They're not. They're 2 points out of a wild card spot. But, I mean, you win 10 in a row. Granted, they were in last in the conference, but it didn't do as much for them as you might have thought based on how competitive this division is and the conference. So let's see how the Sabres. I think the Sabres are improved.
Right.
There's no question. Like last year's team, I don't think was capable of winning 10 in a row. They just didn't have the juice to their lineup. This year they do, but the season has ebbs and flows. Maybe with the exception of Colorado, every team is going to hit some bumps in the road. How do you react to it? So let's see how the Sabres react after their winning streak got ended.
Before we get to the Colorado game a bit, this one comes from Tim, and he says, guys, do you think because the Lightning have so many players participating in the Olympics, they will benefit from the time off? So I guess what he's saying is when the league shuts down, the Lightning having so many players in, does that
They're not going to
benefit
be
them?
rusty.
Does that benefit them? It's a good question. I don't know. How many
they're
Lightning
also
players
traveling
do we
to
think?
Italy and back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a nice flight. So, and they're going to have time to react, to get acclimated there and acclimated back. So they have 10 players, plus John Cooper and Julian Brisebois going to the Olympics. That's got to be, if it's not the highest, it's one of the highest.
It's got to be right up there, right?
Yeah. But, Vasi and Cooch are going to get the time off.
So I was going to say,
Cooch is going to keep himself ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can he go and just practice with the teams and just
he's going to work
facilitate?
on his skills. Yeah.
But I think for Vasi, does it come?
TJ Iceplex will be in use during the.
But honestly, for those two players, it might also benefit the Lightning as well because you have two elite Russian players who are going to get some time off. That's not a terrible thing, particularly Vasi, who we know has been, at times a little more dinged up recently.
Right.
They may have the best of both worlds in that space. You have guys who are staying sharp, that are competing in the Olympics, and there's, maybe a level of play that they'll sustain. But you also can make the case you have some guys who are going to be rested, who are valuable members of your team. So,
there are 12 teams that are going. So the players that are not going, either they weren't picked for their team or they're Russian, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get the full time off. I think the fan is kind of wondering about where will those players be when they come back. Now, I think in the long run, it may benefit them because they're going to get that rest, right?
Right.
Maybe heal up some bumps and bruises. But it's hard to get just dropped right back in, particularly when you're taking on players that have been playing and playing at a high level. I mean, we kind of wondered about that with the Four Nations last year, but the Four Nations wasn't as long of a tournament as this one is going to be. So there are 12 teams that are 12 nations are competing. I was actually in the elevator with Oliver Bjorkstrand, and I was asking him because I didn't know the format. So he's going to be playing for Denmark. So I'm like, is it 2 groups of 6? He's like, no, it's 3 groups of 4, and you play the 3 other teams in your group, and eventually it's going to go to a quarterfinal.
Yeah.
So as we know, in a quarterfinal, there are 8. So 4 of the teams are not going to get to the knockout round unless they're going to do some kind of like who finishes 10th. Maybe there'll be some consolation games. Right. I kind of doubt it. If the fans know otherwise, they can let us know. But if you are a player on one of those 4 teams, your tournament will end sooner. And you're not going to stick around, I don't think. So
get back
you
and
may just head back.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
The teams that are playing in the knockout round, you're going to be knocking out half with each game. So not every team is going to go all the way to the end.
Good point.
Now, maybe, nations are like, we want to stay for the closing ceremony. I get that. Yeah. That might be a little bit different. But just keep in mind, it's like we may not see every player going to Italy staying to the very end.
Good point.
They may be coming back sooner. And instead of getting, let's say, 7 games or maybe 8 games or however they're going to do it, maybe they get like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
And that's it. Right. And they're back sooner.
Yeah,
So it's not going to be the same experience for every player going over there who's an NHLer.
Is
he
there
told
anybody?
me Denmark is in a group with Latvia, Germany, and the U.S. So he kind of smiled and he said, "Yeah, we want to try and win the Latvia Germany games." It's like U.S.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm curious Was there anybody on the Lightning outside of the Russian players that didn't go for obvious reasons that was a surprise? And I was trying to think about this.
Holmberg was a surprise for people who haven't watched Pontus Holmberg.
Yeah.
They're like, why didn't they take this guy? Why didn't they take that guy? Why didn't they take this guy? It's like, well,
That's
you know what?
fair
Ask
point.
the GM. But like the GM is watching how Pontus Holmberg is being the backpack, right? Like, I mean, he's extremely difficult to play against.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And, you know, Sweden wants that. They have skill guys. You know, they have guys that can dangle. They want a guy who is hard on the puck.
No, you're absolutely right. I was thinking more along the lines of guys like, I think everybody that is going, it's hard to quibble, and everybody who's sitting home for the Lightning, I get. Ryan McDonough would have been the only one, but I don't think he was going to crack Team USA.
Adam Fox was left off Team USA.
I know, so that's.
I mean,
I get that. So I think everybody that should be going is. Let's put it this way: is going. Maybe outside of Holmberg, people were surprised, but look, he's going to help.
Well, and we talked
team.
about the Cirelli thing. That's just the Canada team is so deep. There are so many players that could have gone that weren't picked. That, you know, there's going to be some quibbling with the last couple of guys. But
For sure. We got a couple of minutes here. Just big picture thoughts. Colorado, what they've been able to do. I mean, historically, the season they're having has been pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And what they're doing.
So now they've not won 10 games. I think they've played 41 now. I'm going to check that. They played 41. So they're halfway home. They've not won 10. So when you think about the Lightning 62-win season, 82 games, the Lightning did not win 20 games. So the Avalanche are on pace for 62 wins. What has made this difference is, of their non-wins, 7 have come in overtime. So now they've only lost 3 in regulation in the first half. So they very well could set the points record. They would have to be at a better pace to catch the Bruins, who won 65 in 22-23. The Bruins only had 17 non-wins that year out of 82. Frankly, it's going to be probably tough for Colorado to hit that, simply because are they going to be pressing on the gas the same way the whole second half? You know, with no team close to them. We'll see. I mean, what they've done in the first half, though, is outstanding and almost mind-boggling. I mean, like, I'm less focusing on the 10 non-wins as I am on the 3 regulation losses, because those 7 overtime losses, they could have gone the other way. We talk about, like, overtime is a little bit of a coin toss. So it has been an outstanding first half for the Avalanche in every category. Interestingly, maybe with the exception, I'm going to look up their numbers right now so I say it accurately.
Yeah.
I don't think their power play has been one of the top power plays. Where are they? I'm scrolling, so I don't see them. Power play is 26th in the NHL.
What?
Yeah. But they're like crushing it 5-on-5 in their team defense numbers. Like they're number 1 in penalty killing. 5-on-5 ratio. They're almost at a 2. They're almost scoring twice as many goals 5-on-5 as they're allowing. Again, if you're at 1, that's where you want to be. You don't want to be lower than 1. If you're above 1, that's good. The Lightning currently are 3rd. They're 1.36. Washington is 2nd, 1.38. Colorado, 1.92. Their 5-on-5 play has been off the charts. And when you look at their team defense numbers, number 1, 2.17. The next closest team is Minnesota, 2.6. Yep. So, I mean, I wouldn't say almost a half a goal better, but that's what, 0.43. So that's how much better defensively they are than every other team in the NHL. We're talking about the other top defensive teams. So it's like, how has Colorado done it? Honestly, their power play, I wonder if they are worried about their power play. If like the people who are really nitpicking are like, how can the power play? What if they need a goal in the playoffs and the power play is 26th in the NHL? Well, I mean, with Makar and McKinnon and the rest, like you figure that if they need a power play goal, they're gonna come up with it. But they have done it with off the charts 5-on-5 play and tremendous team defense. And I think we do have to give credit to Blackwood and Wedgwood. Remember they had Miles Wood too. Remember when they had Miles Wood?
Yeah, some Miles Wood, right?
Three different Woods. Yeah,
that's right.
But Blackwood and Wedgwood arrived around the same time last year, and they've been nothing but terrific for Colorado. Yeah. Even going back to last year, you look at their numbers; they've been great as a duo for the Avalanche.
That's been incredible,
and that has been the case this year. So it's not just like, well, they were overcoming kind of the soft underbelly of their team, which is goaltending. No, the goaltending has been terrific too. So you don't get to 2.17 goals allowed per game without really good goaltending. So it's going to be a challenge for the Lightning. I think what I wonder is for the Avs just generally, what will be their motivation to keep pushing in the second half? Because if you're not pushing, teams that are hungrier than you could bite you.
Yep.
In the backside on a particular night. I think the Lightning will be motivated because they know that this is the one home game before they go back on the road, and we'll see if they can keep up the momentum from honestly pretty good play in California. I mean, we were kind of picking apart the penalty kill a little bit, but they played good hockey out in California. Let's see if they can keep it going here in their one home game before they go back on the road for 5.
We'll talk about it tomorrow. Partner, we'll miss you the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night, though.
I'll see you tomorrow night for sure. You and I will be talking about the game, no doubt, and get those questions in at Bolts Radio. And then you and I, in this setting, will be back at it on Thursday, breaking it all down. But it was good talking to you about a lot of great things the Lightning are doing with our fans. And I'll catch you at the rink tomorrow.
Yep, see you then.
Great job. As always, thanks to Steve Versnick. Thanks to you for listening. We always appreciate you guys. I am Greg Linnelli. You've been listening to Power Lunch on Lightning.